She flew. She flew. Daddy, can you smile? Jet to the parking lot.
Daddy!
Okay, ready? Okay. Welcome. Our play is Beauty and the Beast meets Snow White. Ready? Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, there lived a prince who was very selfish. He loved all of his treasures more than his people. And then one day, an old woman knocked on his door and asked for shelter. What the prince did not know was this old woman was the evil queen and Snow White's stepmother. When he did not let her in, she put a curse on the prince and turned him into a beast. The evil queen had just began her evil plot. Meanwhile, in town, Snow White and Belle were sitting in Belle's home eating breakfast. Belle's father was working on his latest invention down in his workshop and making a racket. Belle and Snow White were talking about their favorite books and taking walks in the forest with their friends, the 7 dwarves who were sitting with them.
I begin to walk in the forest.
Snow White decided that it was too nice to stay inside the house all day, so as Belle began reading her book, she took off for a stroll in the forest. As she walked from the house to the path, her forest friends joined her. They were walking for quite some time and began to get hungry. Snow White found an apple tree and decided that is what she wanted to eat.
And then her fall down to the down. And then put a curse on her.
What Snow White didn't know was the evil queen put a magic spell on those apples and poisoned them. As Snow White pulled an apple off the tree, her forest friends saw the evil queen hiding and laughing. As Snow White took a bite of the apple, her friends yelled,
No!
but it was too late. Snow White already took a bite and fell to the ground fast asleep. The evil queen swooped in and carried her off to the castle where the beasts lived. The forest creatures ran for help. Back at Belle's house, the dwarves were cleaning, and Belle was reading her book. All of a sudden, the forest creatures burst through the house yelling.
Daddy, I'm over here!
Belle and the dwarves yelled, "Oh!" Belle and the dwarves quickly gathered their things, and they followed. They went to the forest where Snow White likes to walk and found footprints in the mud. They followed the footprints, and it led them to a giant castle they didn't know existed. It looked very spooky on the outside. Belle and the dwarves slowly made their way up to the front door and knocked. And who answered? A talking candelabra, a clock, a teapot, and a cup. Lumiere said,
I need to fix my shoe.
Belle and the dwarves looked at the talking objects and hesitated, but then remembered that they needed to find Snow White. The talking objects took Belle and the dwarves inside the castle and began looking for Snow White when they heard the roar of the beast. The group searched the castle for Snow White with no luck. Then they came to a big staircase that led them up to a part they haven't looked in. She burst through the room, and what she saw, and she gasped. There was Snow White lying on the bed, fast asleep. Next to her was the shining red rose in a glass container. Belle walked to the rose and tried to touch it. Then the beast jumped out and yelled, "No, you got touched!" Belle was taken aback by the sight of the beast, and the dwarfs, the forest creatures, and talking objects all hid. The beast looked at Belle and thought she was the most beautiful girl he'd ever seen, and he fell in love. Just as Belle and the beast stepped towards Snow White, the evil queen burst through the door. And who was with her but Gaston? They were working together to catch both princesses. Gaston and the evil queen started to walk towards Belle. Snow White and the beast went through the door. Prince Charming came. He had gone to Belle's house to see Snow White, and when no one answered, he became very worried. He followed the footprints all the way to the castle. Gaston and the evil queen tried to stop him, but he was too quick. He tied up Gaston and the evil queen and ran to his princess. He took her hand. And the evil queen and Gaston yelled.
You say no. No.
As soon as Prince Charming kissed Snow White's hand, she awoke to her prince. The curse had been lifted. The beast turned back into the prince he originally was, and Belle couldn't believe it. The talking objects became people once more, and the evil queen and Gaston were locked away forever. And they all lived happily ever after. The end.
Put your crown on. Put your crown on.